But I'll bring in again Stephen. You may want to comment on it.
Nicholas, you mentioned a moment ago setting up a new group to hold departments more to account. But Appendix 2 suggests that the NEO reported in 2006 that the central challenge function within the Treasury has been reduced and savings continue to be insufficiently challenged. And indeed, the Commons Treasury Committee in 2007 also said we recommend that the government ensure that a coherent framework for the verification and reporting of savings is established. Why would you not take more heed of those recommendations?
I think, well, we did take heed in some important respects. I mean, one of the criticisms of the Gershon programme was that departments didn't own it sufficiently. And the risk is, the bigger the Treasury role, the bigger the centre of government second-guesses departments, the less departments own the challenge. You know, if you're working in a department, it feels like things are being done to you. You then just create. I mean, your main objective then is just to feed the centre, whatever will keep the centre quiet.
So taking that then, if you're setting that up because previously you were saying, well, actually it was for the departments to own. So you're saying at the time, previously, the last few years, the departments were owning this. This was part of the objectives for the accounting officer. So if we turn to figure 6 and we look again, as was referred to earlier, about the Department for Communities and Local Government, if they were owning that, what's happened to the accounting officer for that department? I mean, have they been promoted to be the top civil servants in Scotland, or have they been managed in some way? I mean, what I'm driving at is how are they held accountable? How are they owning that?
Well, as I said earlier, I don't think you should read too much into the CLG figures. They are reporting with a greater lag because of their responsibility for local government. But let's take in abstract.
Well, can we take that in specific? Because you also said that earlier. You said, well, actually, that's to a time lag. So if one looks at the element as to whether it is a time lag, in the report in July 2010 of that department, which are the Department for Communities and Local Government core financial and performance tables, it says, and this is to explain why it's only achieved 40 million of the target of 987 million, it says, note 2, there continues to be a considerable risk that the department will not achieve the planned affordable housing saving, which is the majority one, that's 734 million of the initial 887. So it's saying, even in July 2010, not that, well, there's a time lag, but because of the housing market, it's unlikely we're going to achieve this. And it's reporting at the halfway stage that 0 savings have been made. It's further reporting that for the reducing the cost of the running department, its target was 43 million, 0 savings. So it's actually saying it's not about a time lag. We're not expecting to deliver this.
But I mean, if you're asking, well, what does the Treasury do if it feels a department is underperforming? I prefer not to get into specific individual cases.
I'm trying to understand the element of oversight. Was it that the department were owning this and they didn't perform, but they weren't held accountable in truth? Or that it was a lack of oversight from your central team, and you're saying, well, we didn't have the central oversight, we ignored the earlier recommendations because we relied on the department to own it. Whereas this, and they did own it, it's just a time lag in the data, that's why we're not there.
Well, I don't accept your premise that we chose to ignore it. I mean, what happened was conversations around efficiency tended to take place between individual Treasury spending teams and the department rather than through some separate central unit. I mean, where the Treasury has concerns about the performance of a department, there are a number of different ways into trying to change things. I mean, the previous regime had a programme of departmental capability reviews, and the Treasury would make very clear that it didn't think much of Department X's finance function or approach to efficiency. If there's a view in the Treasury that the permanent secretary, the accounting officer of the department is somehow failing to promote the efficiency agenda, again, that will be fed into...
They're not saying that, are they? They're saying it's out of our control. They're saying it's due to the downturn in the housing market. But the irony of that is that the Governor of the Bank of England was saying back in June, 26th of June 2008, in reply to a question on this, question 8, Chairman, Governor, if you were to sum up how you think the housing market will be in the next 12 to 24 months, what message do you have publicly here? Mr. King, it is very difficult to know. It is very, very hard to judge. So what I'm driving at is you're setting a target, 734 million of an 887 million target. You're then subsequently, when it's clearly that's off track, increasing that target by a further 100 million. And you're saying, I thought, well, there's a time lag, so there's a potential they will deliver that. And yet back in 08, when this target's being set, the Governor's saying, well, that criteria we can't rely on. So what did you know in the Treasury that the Governor didn't know? Because clearly this target was only going to be delivered subject to house price movements.
Well, I think there's no point in me trying to get into detail of this particular case because I don't have the information at my fingertips on it. But I mean, if you want to understand the background to target, I would be happy to write to you. Sure.
But there's some principal things that are coming out of it.